My hands trembled the moment I picked up the phone. The man spoke gently, as if afraid I might break. "Ma'am, I believe you should know. Your late husband's classic car, the one your son sold, there's something you need to see. Could you come to the dealership? Now?" I didn't know it then, but that call would change everything. I always believed grief made a person softer, wiser even. But after my husband, Mark, passed away 2 years ago, I learned grief also exposes things you never expected to see, especially in the people you love. I tried to stay hopeful. I tried to keep the peace. But the day my son, Liam, sold Mark's classic 1967 Mustang, everything I thought I knew about family changed. The Mustang had been Mark's pride, the one thing he polished every Sunday afternoon while humming old rock songs from his youth. The smell of gasoline, the shine of the chrome, the hum of the engine, it all became a part of our home. When he died, the car became more than metal and paint. It became memory, my memory, his memory. And Liam sold it for a trip to Paris. He hadn't even asked me. I found out when I came home from the grocery store and saw an empty space in the garage. Just a clean, bright rectangle where the Mustang had always rested like a sleeping animal. At first, I assumed he'd taken it for a wash, or a short drive, maybe. Even though it always scared me when he drove too fast, I would have forgiven that. But he hadn't taken it for a drive. He had taken it for good. When he came downstairs, adjusting the sleeve of his designer jacket, he barely looked at me. "Mom, don't freak out, but I made a decision." My heart dropped. "What decision?" I whispered. He exhaled dramatically. "I sold the Mustang." I stared at him. "You what?" "It was wasting space, Mom, and honestly, Dad would want—" "Don't," I snapped, surprising even myself with how sharp my voice sounded. "Don't tell me what your father would want." He looked offended, as though I was the unreasonable one. "Mom, listen, Claire's parents invited us on a trip to Paris, and we couldn't afford it. It's her dream vacation. But now that I sold the car, we can go. You should be happy for us." I felt dizzy. "You sold your father's car?" I whispered, "so your wife can take pictures in front of the Eiffel Tower?" Liam rolled his eyes. "It's not like that. This trip is important for our marriage. You wouldn't understand." He said the last part so casually, so cruelly. I wanted to scream that I did understand, that I understood what sacrifice looked like more than he ever had. But I stayed quiet, because somewhere deep inside me, I still believed he might realize how wrong he was. He didn't. He left for Paris 2 days later, and the house felt emptier than it had since the day of the funeral. On the third day, the phone rang. I almost didn't answer, thinking it might be one of those automated calls that always show up when you least expect them. But something told me to pick up. "Hello?" A gentle male voice. "Mrs. Turner?" "Yes?" "My name is Henry. I'm the owner of Franklin Auto Classics. I believe you should know something regarding the vehicle your son sold to us." My heart pounded. "Yes, I know he sold it," I said quietly. There was a pause. "Ma'am, would you be able to come down to the dealership? There's something very important you need to see." I gripped the phone tighter. "See? What is it?" "I'd rather not explain over the phone. Please, it's urgent." Something about his tone, careful, almost apologetic, made my stomach twist. "I'll be there," I said finally. The dealership was about 20 minutes away, but the drive felt like a pilgrimage. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. I didn't know why I was nervous. The car was gone, sold. What else could possibly be? When I pulled into the dealership lot, my eyes immediately landed on it. Mark's Mustang, parked near the service bay, its red body glowing in the sunlight like a heartbeat I thought had stopped forever. My breath caught. I stepped out slowly, my legs trembling. I walked toward the car as if afraid it would disappear if I blinked too hard. But it was real. The same leather seats Mark used to wipe down with old t-shirts, the same steering wheel he had wrapped his big, warm hands around, the same dent near the left headlight, the dent Liam had made when he was 16 and swore he didn't do. My eyes filled with tears. Someone approached beside me. "Mrs. Turner?" I turned to see a tall man in his late 50s wearing a dealership-branded shirt and a gentle expression. His eyes were soft, concerned. "I'm Henry," he said, "the one who called." I swallowed. "Why is the car here? I thought my son sold it to you." "He did," Henry said, nodding. "But I realized something, and I thought you deserved to know before anything else happened." "What do you mean?" He exhaled and leaned lightly against the car. "I inspected it yesterday," he said slowly. "Routine procedure. When I opened the glove compartment, I found an envelope." An envelope. My heart stopped. "A letter?" I whispered. Henry nodded. "A letter, addressed to you." My knees merely buckled. He reached into his shirt pocket and carefully pulled out a small, cream-colored envelope, old and slightly worn around the edges. My name was on the front, in Mark's handwriting. I covered my mouth, a sob escaping before I could stop it. "It was hidden beneath the manual," Henry continued softly. "Your husband must have placed it there before he passed, and I didn't feel right keeping it or letting it be lost." My hands shook violently as Henry placed the envelope in my palm. I felt the familiar indentation of Mark's pen strokes. I could almost feel him sitting at the kitchen table the way he always did when he wrote notes for me. But I wasn't ready to open it. Not there, not yet. "Thank you," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. "Thank you so much for calling me." He nodded. "Mrs. Turner, I know this car means something to you. And what's inside that envelope? Well, I think it's something you should read somewhere comfortable, somewhere private." I nodded again, unable to speak. "Can I gestured toward the car, breathless. "Can I sit inside?" "Of course," he said gently. "Take all the time you need." I opened the driver's door. The hinges groaned slightly, just like they always had. I slipped into the seat, and for a moment, I felt him. I felt Mark right there beside me. His laugh, his warmth, his steady presence. The familiar scent of old leather wrapped around me like a hug. The envelope trembled in my hands. I inhaled deeply and opened it. Inside was a folded letter, written in Mark's unmistakable handwriting, strong, steady, precise. My tears fell onto the page before I even began reading. "Emily, my love," the letter began. My breath hitched. "If you're reading this, it means I didn't get the chance to say everything I needed to say before I left. I know you'll be heartbroken when I'm gone, and I know you'll try to stay strong for Liam, but I want you to promise me something." I pressed my hand to my chest. "I want you to keep the Mustang, not for its value, not for its history, but because I know how much you love seeing it in the driveway. I know how much you love the memories we made in it, and I want you to have something of mine that can stay with you, something no one else can take." A sob spilled out of me. "But more importantly, Emily, I want you to know something about our son." My eyes froze on the words. I blinked hard, trying to steady my breathing. I know Liam's struggles. He has a good heart, but he loses himself trying to impress others, especially Claire. I fear one day he may make decisions that will hurt you, not because he intends to, but because he doesn't understand the value of what truly matters. My entire body went cold. But when that day comes, even if he makes a mistake, please don't give up on him. My tears blurred the words into rivers. He will need you, Emily, more than he realizes, more than he will ever admit. And you, my love, have the kind of heart that can save him. The letter ended with, "I'll be with you, in every sunset, in every quiet morning, and every time this engine starts. Yours forever, Mark." I clutched the letter to my chest and cried until my vision blurred and my breath came in small, painful gasps. When I finally looked up, Henry was standing a respectful distance away, watching with concern. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "I didn't mean to intrude." "You didn't," I whispered. "Thank you. You gave me something priceless." He nodded. "There's one more thing." My head lifted. "What?" "The car," he said. "I haven't signed the ownership transfer yet, and after what I found, I don't feel right completing the process." I stared at him. "I would like to give it back to you," he said gently, "at the same price we purchased it from your son." My heart raced. "But I don't have that kind of money." Henry shook his head. "I'm not asking you to buy it, Mrs. Turner. I'm returning what was already yours." I felt the world still. But Henry wasn't finished. "And I think your son needs to learn something.
Not through anger, through truth. I swallowed. What truth? Henry glanced at the car, then back at me. The truth about what your husband left behind, and the truth about what really matters. I gripped the letter in my hand, and I knew right then this was only the beginning. The beginning of a conversation I never wanted to have. The beginning of a lesson my son desperately needed. The beginning of a truth long buried in an old Mustang's glove compartment.
Liam's breath hitched. For me? I nodded slowly. He hid it in the trunk, and Henry found it by accident last night. Liam fumbled with the latch. It clicked open softly. Inside were several folded papers and a small velvet pouch. For a moment, Liam didn't touch anything. He just stared, his hands trembling. "Go ahead," I whispered. He pulled out the papers first. His eyes scanned them, then widened. "Mom," he breathed, "these are bank statements?" I nodded. "They're in Dad's name," Liam continued, voice shaking, "but the beneficiary says my name." "Yes," I whispered. He read further, his breath coming shorter and quicker. This is a college fund," he said, almost choking on the words. "It's been there since I was 8. He put money aside for me every single year, even when we were struggling, even when I thought he couldn't afford anything extra." Tears slid down his face. "Mom, I didn't know." "No one did," I said gently. "He wanted you to find it when you were ready, when you needed direction." Liam leaned against the car, covering his face. "I messed up. So much." "You didn't know," I whispered again. "And your father left this not to punish you, but to guide you." He wiped his eyes, then opened the velvet pouch. A ring fell into his hand. Not just any ring, Mark's father's ring, the one passed down through 3 generations, the one Mark had worn every day until he got too sick and his finger swelled, the one we thought was lost. Liam held it like it was a newborn bird, fragile, precious. "Dad wanted you to have that," I said, touching his shoulder, "but only when you were ready." A broken, shuddering breath escaped him. "I'm not ready," he whispered. "You are," I said softly, "or you wouldn't be standing here right now." He slid the ring into his palm and closed his fist around it like a vow. "I need to talk to Claire," he said suddenly, voice trembling with new clarity. "Things can't go on like this. I can't keep living the way I've been living." I felt something warm bloom in my chest. Not joy, not pride exactly, but relief. The kind that comes only when you see someone finally opening their eyes after years of walking in the dark. We drove home quietly. When we reached the house, Liam didn't go inside. He stood on the driveway, staring at the Mustang with a mix of grief and determination. "Mom," he said, "I want to tell you something. Something I've been scared to admit." I waited. "I sold the car because Claire wanted that trip so badly," he said. "She kept saying it would make her happy, that it would prove how committed I was. I didn't even question it. I just did it. And that's the problem." My throat tightened. "I've been trying so hard to be what she wants," he continued, "that I stopped being who I actually am." A tear rolled down his cheek, but he didn't wipe it away. "Dad knew," he whispered. "He knew I was losing myself. And he believed you'd find your way," I said softly. Liam nodded, his expression steadying. "I need to fix my life. And not for Claire, not for anyone, for me." I stepped closer and cupped his face gently. "Your father would be so proud of you." He pulled me into a tight embrace, a long one, a healing one. We stood like that until his breathing calmed. Then he pulled away. "I'll be back later. I need to have a conversation." I nodded. "Take your time." He left to talk to Claire. I didn't know how it would go, but I trusted him. For the first time in a long while, I trusted him to make the right choice. Hours passed before he returned. When he finally walked in, he looked exhausted, but calm. "What happened?" I asked quietly. He sat beside me on the couch, hands folded. "We talked," he said, "really talked. And, Mom, I think Claire and I want different things in life." He didn't cry. He didn't rage. He didn't look shattered. He looked free. "She didn't understand," he said softly. "Not the letter, not the car, not why any of it mattered. She just got mad and said I was choosing you over her. And what did you say? I asked. He took a breath. I said I wasn't choosing anyone. I was choosing myself, and that I deserved to be with someone who cared about what mattered to me. I placed a hand over his. I'm proud of you. He leaned back into the coach, exhaling deeply. I think I've been scared of disappointing everyone. And Dad's letter? It was like hearing him again, like he was telling me it's okay to stop running. We sat in quiet understanding. After a while, he looked toward the window where the Mustang sat in the driveway, glowing under the evening sun. I want to restore it, he said suddenly. Not fully, not to showroom condition. I want it to stay ours, his. Maybe one day I'll teach my kid to drive in it. Emotion clogged my throat. That's a beautiful idea, I whispered. He turned to me, his voice smaller, gentler. Mom, can we do it together? My heart broke open in the warmest way. Yes, I whispered. Of course we can. Months passed. Liam started therapy. He took classes his father had once encouraged. He even found a modest job at a community garage, learning real skills instead of chasing status. Claire filed for divorce, and though it stung him, he handled it with a maturity I had never seen in him before. The Mustang became our weekend ritual. We worked on it together, laughing, arguing playfully, telling stories about Mark. Sometimes Liam would hold his father's ring up to the light and whisper something I couldn't hear. He wasn't the same boy who'd sold the car. He was becoming the man Mark always believed he could be. And me? I wasn't just grieving anymore. I was healing. One afternoon, as we finished polishing the hood, Liam stood back, wiped sweat from his brow, and smiled. A true smile, not one stretched thin for show. Mom, he said softly, yes, I'm glad Dad left the car to you, but I'm even more glad he trusted you to guide me back when I lost my way. I touched his cheek gently. I never stopped believing in you. I know, he whispered. And then he pulled me into a hug, the kind that told me he wasn't just my son anymore. He was my partner in healing, my companion in memory, my reminder that love, real love, does not fade. It learns, it forgives, it grows. As we stepped back, the sun setting behind the Mustang, the air shimmering gold around us, I felt Mark with us, not in grief, but in peace, in strength, in the bond he left behind. And for the first time in a long time, I whispered toward the fading sky, "We're okay now, love. We're really okay."
"Why?" he rasped. "Read," I said gently. His throat bobbed as he opened the envelope. I watched the muscles in his face shift as he read, confusion, pain, guilt, something almost like fear. When he reached the part about him, he loses himself trying to impress others, he flinched visibly. When he reached the part about me, please don't give up on him, his eyes filled with tears. By the time he finished, he wasn't breathing steadily. He pressed the letter to his forehead and let out a broken whisper. "Mom, I didn't know." "I know," I said again. "No," he choked. I really didn't know Dad saw me like that." "He didn't judge you," I whispered. "He worried for you." Liam shook his head, tears streaming. I thought selling the car would help us go on that trip. I thought you'd be happy I was doing something special for my marriage." "Liam," I said gently, "you can't build a marriage on sacrifices that aren't yours to make." He covered his face. I messed up so badly." I scooted closer, placing my hand over his. "You made a mistake, but you're not a bad person." He sobbed harder. "I want to fix it," he whispered. "Tell me what to do. I'll buy the car back. You don't need to," I said softly. "The dealership owner returned it to me." Liam looked up sharply. "What?" "He said it didn't feel right keeping it." Liam's jaw dropped. "He just gave it back?" I nodded. "Yes." A long, shaky exhale escaped him. "Mom, I'm so sorry." And for a moment, just a moment, I felt the boy he used to be. The one who scraped his knee climbing trees. The one who used to leave crayon drawings on the fridge. The one who crawled into my bed during thunderstorms. I squeezed his hand. "We'll work through this, but you need to understand something.
He looked at me with red, watery eyes. Your worth, I said softly, doesn't come from impressing other people. Not Claire, not anyone. Your father saw your heart. He knew you were good, but he also knew you could lose yourself if you weren't careful. Liam nodded, slowly, painfully. I think he was right. For a long while, we just sat there, both of us crying softly, the letter resting between us like a fragile bridge. Then Claire walked in. She froze when she saw Liam's face. Babe, what's going on? Liam wiped his cheeks quickly. Nothing, just family stuff. She scoffed lightly. Okay, but can we finish unpacking? My skincare products will get ruined. Something in Liam's face shifted. For the first time since he married her, I saw him look at her not with admiration, but clarity. Claire, he said quietly, can you give us a minute? She blinked, offended. Seriously? Yes, he said, please. She rolled her eyes dramatically and walked away, muttering under her breath. Liam waited until she was gone before turning back to me. Mom, I don't know if I'm okay. I gently brushed his hair back from his forehead the way I used to when he was little. You will be, I whispered, but you need to figure out who you are, not who you're trying to be for her. His voice came out small. What if she leaves? I cupped his cheek. Then she was never staying for the right reasons. He closed his eyes again, leaning into my hand like he used to as a child. Mom, can I stay here tonight? He whispered. My heart softened in a way I hadn't felt in a long time. Of course, this is your home. As he hugged me, tight, desperate, I felt a quiet shift in the air. Something was breaking, and something else was beginning. But I didn't know then just how deeply the truth would cut, or that the real storm wasn't the car, or Paris, or even the letter. The real storm was sitting in my kitchen, scrolling on her phone, completely unaware that her world was about to shatter. Because the letter wasn't the only thing hidden in that Mustang. And tomorrow, Liam would learn what else his father left behind. Something that would change everything. Forever. The next morning, the house felt too still, like the quiet that settles before a storm breaks open the sky. I woke early, unable to sleep, brewing coffee just to keep my hands busy. Liam was upstairs, asleep in his old room, a place he hadn't stayed the night in for years. Every so often, I glanced down the hallway, listening for any sign he was awake. But what really weighed on me was the envelope still resting in my purse, and the second thing I hadn't told him yet. Because yes, the letter was one part of what his father left behind, but there was more. Something far heavier. Something that had made Henry call me a second time, late last night, after Liam had already gone to sleep. He hadn't said much, just that he found something else, hidden under the trunk carpet. Something I needed to see. Something I needed to tell Liam about when I was ready. Just thinking about it made my chest tighten. I stared at my untouched coffee, the steam drifting like a question. At around 9, footsteps padded softly down the stairs. Liam appeared in the doorway, still in the clothes he'd worn the night before, looking younger somehow, vulnerable. "Morning, Mom," he said quietly. "Hi, sweetheart," I replied. "How'd you sleep?" He shrugged. "Honestly, better than I have in a while." He sat across from me, rubbing his hands together nervously. "Where's Claire?" I asked gently. "She went home," he said. "Really early. She was annoyed. Said she didn't understand the drama." His voice cracked at the end, and he swallowed. "I think she's mad that I stayed here." I studied his face. "How do you feel about that?" He let out a long breath. "Confused, sad, but mostly tired." I reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "You don't have to figure everything out today." He nodded, staring down at the grain of the wooden table. "I want to talk more about Dad's letter." "We can," I said softly. "But first, there's something else we need to do." He looked up, confused. "What do you mean?" I stood and grabbed my purse. "Get your jacket." "Mom?" "We're going to the dealership." The worry in his eyes deepened, but he didn't argue. The drive there was silent. Liam kept twisting his wedding ring around his finger, a habit he'd only picked up recently. The sky above was cloudy, gray, hanging low like it was watching us. When we pulled into the dealership, the Mustang was parked right in front, as if waiting for us. Henry stepped outside when he saw us.
He gave me a respectful nod, then turned to Liam with gentler eyes than I've ever seen from a stranger. You must be her son. Liam swallowed hard. Yes, I'm Liam. I'm glad you're here, Henry said softly. There's something your mother and I discovered yesterday, and I think it's time you both saw it. Liam looked between us, fear tightening his throat. Please, just tell me. Henry shook his head. It's better if I show you. He led us toward the Mustang. Liam ran his hand along the side of the car, almost as if asking it for forgiveness. His eyes were glossy. Dad loved this thing, he whispered. Henry opened the driver's door, pulled a lever, and popped the trunk. Here, Henry said quietly, lifting the carpet lining. This was tucked underneath. He pulled out a small metal box, old, worn, locked with a simple latch. It looked like it had been hidden there a long time. My heart thudded. Liam stared at it, puzzled. What is that? Henry handed it to him. Your father left it for you.
When I drove the Mustang home that afternoon, the world outside my window felt strangely quiet, as if it understood I was carrying something fragile. The letter from Mark rested safely inside my purse, though I kept touching the flap every few seconds, just to reassure myself it was real, that it existed, that he had written it with the intention of protecting me even after his last breath. The house felt heavier when I walked into it. Not empty exactly, just aware of the storm that was inevitably coming. Liam. His face flashed before me, indifferent, dismissive, so sure of his own decisions. The feeling from earlier returned, that familiar mixture of heartbreak and confusion. My son, my only child, had sold something so sacred without hesitation. But now, holding Mark's words, I understood. Liam wasn't cruel, he was lost. And still, I was hurt, deeply. I placed the letter gently on the table. The afternoon sun spilled across the paper, making Mark's handwriting glow like it was something holy. I traced each curve of his letters, remembering the way he used to write grocery notes that always ended with a heart. I could hear him in every word, telling me not to give up on our son. But I wasn't ready to talk to Liam, not yet. I sat there for hours, reading and rereading the letter until the ink felt etched into my heart. At around 8 that evening, my phone buzzed. A picture from Liam, him and Claire grinning in front of the Eiffel Tower. Another from a cafe, another of their hotel room. Then a message. Mom, Paris is amazing. Told you it would be worth it. Worth it. I didn't reply. I set the phone face down and let the quiet return. For the first time since Mark's death, the house didn't feel like a tomb. It felt like a witness. 2 days passed before I heard from Liam again. This time, it wasn't a picture. It was a call. I stared at the screen, unsure whether to answer. My heart twisted. Mark's letter came back to me. Please don't give up on him. So I answered. Mom, he said, sounding breathless with excitement. Guess what? Claire and I are thinking of staying another week. I closed my eyes. Liam, we need to talk. There was a pause. The sound of tourists chattering in the background filtered through. About what? The car. He groaned loudly. Mom, we've been over this. It was my decision. And honestly, I don't get why you're so emotional about some old... Don't finish that sentence, I said quietly. He sighed. Okay, fine. What now? Are you still mad? I took a breath. I found something in the glove compartment. What? Trash? Dad never cleaned that thing. I swallowed. A letter. Silence. A letter from your father, I continued, voice trembling. To me. The line became completely still. Even the background noise faded. You're kidding, he said finally, a hint of uncertainty creeping into his voice. I'm not. And Liam, the letter changes everything. What does that mean? He demanded. Mom, what does that mean? But I wasn't ready to explain. Not over the phone. Not while he was halfway across the world making memories funded by something sacred. I want you to enjoy the rest of your trip, I said. When you come home, we'll discuss it. Mom, good night, Liam. I hung up before my voice could break. He called again, twice, but I didn't answer. Not out of anger, but because every time the screen lit up, I could feel Mark's voice whispering, he will need you, more than he realizes.
and I needed time to approach him without letting the hurt swallow me whole. Liam and Claire returned 3 days later. I knew the moment they walked in. They were laughing loudly, dragging suitcases, talking about macarons and boat tours and rooftop dinners. Claire noticed me first. "Oh, hi, Mrs. Turner," she chirped, her expensive sunglasses still perched on her head. "Paris was magical. You should absolutely go someday." I forced a polite nod. Liam walked in behind her, pretending not to see the tension. "Mom, we're home." "Yes," I said softly. "Welcome back." He froze at my tone. Finally, he asked, "Can we talk?" I nodded and gestured toward the living room. Claire stayed in the kitchen, scrolling on her phone, humming something that made the air feel even heavier. We sat down on opposite ends of the couch. There was a long, painful silence before I finally reached into my purse and pulled out the envelope. Liam stared at it like it was a ticking bomb. "I found this in the Mustang," I said quietly. He didn't speak. Then, slowly, hesitantly, I handed it to him. He didn't open it. His fingers trembled around the paper. "Mom, I didn't know anything was in there." "I know," I said. "But you sold the car without asking me, without even considering how I would feel. That hurt me deeply." His face fell. "I thought it was just a vehicle," he whispered. "I thought you didn't care about it that much." "Your father asked me to keep it," I whispered. "He left it for me." Liam's shoulders tensed.